Hive Commander Thrakis watched the human female approach their forward web. His 12 scout feeds showed her moving across impossible terrain. The bipedal creature walked with calm efficiency. The Vel'kar invasion force had chosen this region for good reasons. Acidic marshlands covered the area. Temperature swings went from freezing to boiling. Atmospheric pressure could crush most species. Toxic spore clouds killed within minutes. Perfect conditions for web colony setup. Perfect death trap for defenders. The human walked through it like she was checking mail. Scout Prime J Hex, report on the approaching bipedal, Zekthara commanded through neural link. Hive Commander, the creature appears to be conducting environmental surveys. She has been sampling soil, water, and air for 4 hours. Zekthara's mandibles clicked with confusion. Survey. Our analysis confirmed this region is Class 15 toxic to all non-Vel'kar biology. Confirmed, Hive Commander. The creature should have died within 20 minutes of exposure. Through Scout Prime J Hex's visual feed, Zekthara observed the human. She crouched beside a pool of concentrated acid. The liquid could dissolve Vel'kar chitin in seconds. She dipped an instrument into the pool. She examined the readout. She made notes on a handheld device. Interesting, the human said to herself. pH of 1.2. That'll eat through standard gear pretty quick. She stood up. She walked to the next testing site. She began the same process with a bubbling steam vent. Surface temperatures registered 180 degrees Celsius. Hive Commander, J Hex's mental voice carried alarm. The bipedal creature is not wearing protective equipment. Zekthara examined the visual feed more carefully. The human wore simple cloth coverings. She had sturdy footwear, no environmental suit, no breathing apparatus, no thermal protection. Nothing that would prevent the toxic environment from killing her. Yet she had been working in these conditions for 4 hours. Perhaps their species evolved immunity to these conditions, Zekthara theorized. Continue observation. The human moved to the next survey point. Vel'kar engineers had woven their most sophisticated trap web on this cliff face. Invisible monofilament strands could slice through battle armor. The network would funnel any ground force into a killing zone. Concentrated spore bombardment would finish what the web started. The human walked directly into the center of the trap. Zekthara felt a thrill of satisfaction. Finally, the bipedal creature would discover Vel'kar engineering superiority. The web would detect her presence. It would contract around her. The human stopped walking. She reached into her equipment pack. She pulled out what appeared to be a simple cutting tool. With methodical precision, she began severing web strands. Hive Commander, J Hex's mental voice cracked with disbelief. She can see our web. Impossible. Vel'kar monofilament is engineered to be invisible to all known optical systems. She is looking directly at the strands before cutting them. Zekthara switched to direct visual connection with Scout Prime J Hex. Through those compound eyes, he watched the human work. She moved through their master trap like she was clearing overgrown vegetation. She cut each strand with casual efficiency. She occasionally paused to examine the severed material. Synthetic spider silk, she murmured. She held a piece up to the light. Tensile strength around 1.3 gigapascals, pretty impressive engineering. She dropped the strand. She pulled out her handheld device. She made another note. Scout Prime, can you determine how she detected our web? Analyzing now, Hive Commander. A pause. She appears to be using simple visual recognition. The web creates slight atmospheric distortion patterns. This happens when environmental humidity reaches certain levels. That level of environmental observation requires computational processing beyond most biological capabilities. The human finished clearing the web. She continued her survey work. She moved to an area where Vel'kar atmospheric engineers had concentrated their most lethal spore deployment. The air itself writhed with toxins. They could kill through skin contact. She walked into the cloud. She took readings. She made notes. Thrakis felt something his species rarely experienced, confusion approaching fear. Hive Commander, another scout's voice entered the neural link. We have additional bipedal creatures approaching from the eastern perimeter. How many? 3. They appear to be carrying construction equipment. Thrakis split his attention between multiple visual feeds. 3 more humans approached the survey area. All wore the same minimal protective gear. They carried what looked like basic engineering tools. The first human was still working in the toxic spore cloud. She activated a communication device. "Maya here, environmental assessment is complete." "Copy that," came a voice from the device. "What's your recommendation on the site prep?" "Standard terraforming package should handle it. We'll need to neutralize the acid pools, scrub the atmospheric toxins, regulate the temperature fluctuations. Nothing we haven't done 100 times before. Timeline for environmental remediation. Give me 3 days for the heavy lifting. Another 2 for cleanup and certification." "Acknowledged. Tom's crew is moving to your location now with the gear." Bait deactivated the communication device. She walked out of the spore cloud like she had been standing in harmless mist. "Scout Prime J Hex," Thrakis commanded. "What does she mean by terraforming?" "Unknown, Hive Commander. Perhaps some form of environmental adaptation technique." The 3 additional humans reached Bait's location. They unloaded equipment that Sekthara did not recognize. Compact devices with various attachments and modifications. "Tom, what do you make of these soil readings?" Maya handed her colleague the handheld device. Tom was a bearded human in similar minimal clothing. He examined the data. Acidic contamination, heavy metal saturation, organic toxin buildup. Looks like industrial runoff mixed with natural geological processes. "That's what I figured. Think the Mark 7 neutralizer can handle this concentration?" "Should be fine. We might need to cycle it twice for the heavy metal extraction." The chemistry looks straightforward. Tom unpacked one of the compact devices. He began assembling what appeared to be atmospheric processing equipment. Meanwhile, the 3rd human started setting up similar devices around the acid pools. She was a female with short dark hair. "Hive Commander," Scout Prime J Hex's mental voice carried pure bewilderment. "They are not adapting to the environment. They are modifying the environment to suit their requirements." Sekthara processed this information. The Vel'kar species had spent 10,000 years evolving specialized biological systems. They needed these systems to survive in environments like this one. The idea of simply changing hostile conditions rather than adapting to them was beyond their comprehension. "How is this possible?" "Observing now, Hive Commander." Maya activated her Mark 7 neutralizer. The device hummed quietly. It began emitting some kind of energy field. Within minutes, the acid pools started changing color. The pH readings on Maya's device showed rapid neutralization. Tom's atmospheric processor worked with similar efficiency. The toxic spore clouds began disappearing. They were replaced by breathable atmosphere. The 3rd human worked on temperature regulation. She deployed thermal dampening units. They brought the extreme fluctuations into moderate ranges. "Hive Commander," J Hex reported. "They are systematically eliminating every environmental advantage our invasion force relied upon." Sekthara watched through multiple visual feeds. The humans converted their perfect invasion site into something else. It now resembled a Class 2 habitable zone, conditions that would support almost any biological species. "Environmental remediation complete," Maya announced after 3 hours of work. "Site is ready for construction prep." "Copy that," Tom replied. "Dave's crew should be here tomorrow morning to start foundation work." They packed up their equipment with the same casual efficiency. They had demonstrated this throughout the process. To them, this appeared to be routine maintenance work. As the humans departed, Sekthara felt his entire understanding of warfare shift. The Vel'kar had planned this invasion based on environmental supremacy. They had chosen the most hostile terrain on the planet. This terrain should have been impossible for defender species to operate in. The humans had treated it like a minor engineering problem. "Hive Commander," Scout Prime J Hex transmitted. "Should we relocate our forward position?" Sekthara considered this. The Vel'kar invasion fleet had established 17 different forward positions across the planet. All were in environments chosen for their hostility to non-arachnid species. If the humans could casually neutralize one site, they could neutralize all sites. "Scout Prime, relay new intelligence to the invasion fleet. The bipedal creatures do not adapt to hostile environments. They eliminate hostile environments. Acknowledged, Hive Commander. What are your tactical recommendations? Zekthara realized he had no tactical recommendations. Every strategic doctrine in Vel'kar military history assumed environmental advantage was permanent. Species either evolved to survive in specific conditions, or they died. The humans had revealed a third option, one that the Vel'kar had never considered: change the conditions. Scout Prime, prepare a full tactical assessment for Fleet Command. Include all observational data. Hive Commander, what should our assessment conclude? Zekthara watched the last human disappear beyond the horizon. She left behind an environment that no longer provided any strategic advantage to Vel'kar forces. Conclude that we may have made an error in species assessment. What kind of error, Hive Commander? We assumed we were invading a planet defended by creatures who would adapt to our environmental warfare. Instead, we are invading a planet defended by creatures who adapt environments to their warfare. The implications of this realization settled into Zekthara's consciousness. It felt like acid eating through chitin. If humans could casually neutralize environmental advantages, what other advantages might they be able to neutralize? Scout Prime J Hex, one final observation. Yes, Hive Commander, the female named Maya mentioned they had done this type of work 100 times before. Confirmed, Hive Commander, 100 times. This suggests that hostile environment modification is routine for their species. A long pause in the neural link. Then Scout Prime J Hex transmitted a query. It chilled Zekthara to his core. Hive Commander, if environmental modification is routine for them, what do they consider difficult? Zekthara did not have an answer to that question. He suspected that discovering the answer might be the last thing the Vel'kar invasion fleet ever did. Through the neural link, he sent new orders to all forward positions. Maintain observation protocols. Avoid direct engagement until further notice. For the first time in Vel'kar military history, an invasion force was retreating from an environmental assessment. They had come to conquer a death world. Instead, they had discovered a species that treated death worlds as home improvement projects.